Hey guys, Carrie-Anne for Jessica Jones, Season 1, Episode 2, aka Crush Syndrome. And I was definitely looking forward to this episode. The premiere was great, and I heard this episode was even better than the premiere, and, the way things ended, I was definitely looking forward to this episode. And this episode was better than the premiere. I thought this episode was actually 10 times better. There were a lot of things I loved about this episode. We saw a lot more of Luke Cage. We actually get the introduction of Kilgrave in this episode. We actually see him. Which I really loved, and there was so much more going on this episode. There's already so much going on in the show, and I love it. Let's just get into this episode, because it really was an amazing episode, and unlike the first episode, this one was perfect, because it didn't really focus on that storyline that I was worried they were going to focus on, but we'll get into that. Let's just get into this episode. Right away, we get a really great scene. I loved the scene that we get in this, the first scene of this episode. Because obviously, since Hope killed her parents, obviously, Jessica's now going to be since she killed her parents, Jessica's now being interrogated about it. Because obviously, they want to know, did you know she was going to do this? And she insists she has no more answers. She's not going to tell them anything that she's already told them. And the investigator asks how the Skoltzmans found her and why she had a backpack, and Jessica dodges answering with the truth, and, she doesn't really want to answer. She insisted she knew she was going to kill her parents, she would have stopped her, and we also find out that, she has now been following, Luke Cage. She has basically been taking pictures of him, and this man apparently broke into her apartment and stole all these photos, which, is quite interesting, I have to say. So, basically, she says she knew she was going to kill her parents. She would have stopped her, and he has photos from her office, and Jessica says that she's only trying to make a living before leaving, and I think it's very interesting that she said that. So, basically, she gets dropped off at Luke's bar and sees he's being questioned by police officers. And Luke in this episode, I already really liked his character, but here I think he becomes an even more compelling character. Just the fact that we realize that she's basically following him for her own good, and not because they sent her out there, I found extremely interesting. I mean, you think that she'd be doing this because, her job told her to, but that's not why she's doing this. She's doing this because she just wants to. So, that overall was very interesting. The two officers leave, Jessica hides, then enters the bar, and Luke is very cold towards her. Obviously, I mean, he knows that she's following him, he doesn't want anything to do with her, and he's just done with her. He's like, look, I want nothing to do with you, I want you to go away, I don't want to see you. He tells her that the bar is closed. I mean, he really doesn't want to see her very much, and I can understand why he doesn't want to see her. I can understand why he really doesn't like her, and, he wants to know why she's taking these pictures of him, because obviously she's taking pictures and he doesn't know why. So she tells him that she was hired by Gina's husband, who suspected that she was cheating, and he tells her to leave the bar, and he's saying, oh, no, this has nothing to do with Gina, this has nothing to do with Gina's husband, you don't know what you're talking about, and, we don't know what she's really talking about. Who's Gina? Who's her husband? We don't really know anything that's going on with this. So this is definitely, very interesting. Apparently, he's having this affair with this girl, Gina. And Jessica's not the first girl that he's hooked up with. He clearly, there's this girl, Gina. She has a husband, and he's telling her to leave the bar. He doesn't believe really anything she says, which I can totally understand. I mean, how can you believe a word she says after she's just following you like this? She's stalking him. I mean, this is stalking. Jessica needs to realize that this is stalking. This is not her getting intel on him. This is just stalking. Nobody asked her to do this. She's claiming that she had someone to do this, but I'm pretty sure she just did this for her own good. So back at home, Jessica narrates how being alone is better and safer with Kilgrave out there. She flicks a cockroach in the sinks, wonders how Kilgrave cheated death, because, yeah, that is a big question. Obviously, again, we don't know how Kilgrave was killed. We don't know how he supposedly was killed. We don't know what happened between him and Jessica. And that's really makes this the more compelling, because the fact that we don't know really makes us wonder, well, how could he have cheated death? What could he have done? How did he get out of this situation? How did he beat Jessica like he did? And I think that's pretty much the reason why Jessica feels like a failure, although there has to be more too, because she thought Kilgrave was dead, and now he's not. So at the police station, Jessica signs in and goes to talk to Hope, and Jessica wants information about Kilgrave. And she's asking Hope all the necessary questions, like why is Kilgrave controlling her, what he wants with Jessica, if he mentioned her, and Hope is just not answering a single one of these questions. And you can't really tell if Hope is on Jessica's side, or if she's actually working, still working with Kilgrave and doesn't really trust her. She does ask if Jessica is a good jumper, and Kilgrave made her jump for hours as high as she could, but Kilgrave told her she was never as good as Jessica, and we realize that he is talking about her, and Hope reflects on her 12-year-old brother being all alone now, and, that's really sad, obviously, because now her parents are dead, and you can see that she really feels bad about it, but Jessica tells her none of it is her fault, and I like that Jessica's trying to help her out here, Hope, and because, yeah, it's not Hope's fault. I mean, she was obviously under the control of Kilgrave, and Hope agrees, but says it's Jessica's fault for not finishing the job, and Hope is reluctant to tell her because he'll make her do terrible things, and Hope suggests that Jessica kill herself, and Jessica says, probably I'm the only one that knows you're innocent. She knows that she was under Kilgrave's control, and obviously she can't really explain to anyone because people aren't really going to believe her. It doesn't sound like a believable story. So she doesn't really know how to explain it to anyone, and I don't really think she plans on telling anyone about it. It's very interesting, and the relation between these two, I think, is going to be one of the most interesting relationships of the show. I'm already really into this whole storyline with Jessica and Hope. Really interesting stuff there. So there we see Jerry, and Jerry in this episode was fine. I thought that, I like her character. I'm going to say that. I like Jerry as a character. I'm just not fond of her little side plot, which luckily they don't really touch upon this episode. She drinks in her office, rules that Hope is guilty. Her receptionist tells her his wife is on line 3, and Pam insists that Jerry talk to her wife, and it's pretty clear that Jerry has a wife, but most likely is cheating on her wife with Pam. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I don't really care, but luckily that's the only scene we see of in this episode because I'm just, like I said, I'm not into this storyline. I don't find it interesting. And it's not because it's bad. It's just when there's so much more interesting stuff going on with Kilgrave and Luke Cage, I don't care. I don't. I want to care, but I don't. And if they can find a way to make this interesting, then cool. I think they can make this interesting if they wanted to, but right now at least it's kind of just whatever. I don't really care. Jessica insists that Jerry take the case, but she doesn't believe that Kilgrave exists, and she asks how she'll prove it, and Jessica says that she is resourceful, and you can see how passionate she is about this. I mean, Jerry is pretty much just laughing about this. She really doesn't think much of it, and asks Jerry to take the case in exchange for a favor, and Jerry says to convince her that Kilgrave is out there, which, obviously, Jessica doesn't really know how to do. I mean, if you really think about it, there's really no way that Jessica can do that until she comes face-to-face with Kilgrave, and I really feel that Jerry is going to end up getting herself killed, because if she really wants to see Kilgrave, Kilgrave's probably going to try to kill her or something. So before Pam tells Jerry her wife knows about their little thing, basically, I thought that was interesting that we saw that we know what's going on there. But just the fact that nobody thinks that Kilgrave exists, I find very interesting. So Jessica walks down the street, and Trish gets her attention, and the scene between Trish and Jessica, I love. Trish is very quickly becoming one of my favorite characters on the show. Because Trish is really scared for Jessica. Like I said, she wants to be involved. Jessica really doesn't want her to, though. She wants a minute of her time, and she almost passes right by her, and I'm like, this is supposed to be your best friend, and you just leave her there? Like, what's wrong with you? So they head to Jessica's apartment, and Jessica pays Trish back, and they discuss Kilgrave, and Trish suggests that Jessica move in with her for safety. Apparently, these two used to live together, and again, what I like about this is that we're slowly getting clues of Jessica's past life, and I think this is something that they're going to do in every episode, but they're already doing it where we're starting to, just have little snippets of what Jessica's past life as a superhero used to be. Jessica says that anybody could kill her at any time and tells Trish to steer clear of her. She doesn't think that she feels she's this dangerous weapon, and she really feels that if Trish just stays away from her, she'll be a lot safer. And that really makes sense as to why Jessica doesn't want her to help. It's not that she doesn't want Trish to help, it's that she wants to protect her. She wants to do this on her own because she knows that anyone that will get involved will probably try to kill her. And obviously, she doesn't want that. She knows what Hope did, and she knows what Hope, she knows what Kilgrave is capable of. She knows what Kilgrave did to Hope, and she doesn't want anyone else to have to face that. And I can totally understand that. I mean, why would she want anyone to go through something like that? I obviously wouldn't want anyone to go through something like that, and I definitely like seeing that. But I do feel that is Jessica's biggest weakness, and Jessica tells her that the window that used to be on the door said alias investigations, and that's why, that's why the door is broken, which I found interesting. So, a woman compliments Luke at the bar, and this is interesting here. She suggests going upstairs, but Luke dismisses her, saying he doesn't mess with liars. The woman tries to convince Luke her marriage is over and doesn't matter. This is clearly Gina, but Luke tells her to go home and ask her husband about the private investigator, because apparently, he's convinced that Gina is the one that is asking Jessica to, go spy on him. That's what he thinks is going on here, which is very interesting. And Gina seems to not really know what he's talking about, so very quickly we're starting to realize that Jessica lied about this, and she clearly just wanted to, she clearly just wanted to, stalk Luke for whatever reason. So Jessica then dumps out notes and newspaper clippings onto her desk and drinks, and the neighbors above her ruin her focus, so she steps outside and goes upstairs. She pounds on the neighbor's door, and she tells them to shut up. The rude woman puts Jessica down, but she busts through the door, rips the woman out, and tells her to keep it down. She heads back to her desk to read a newspaper clipping with a headline about the death of Reva Connors in a tragic accident, and we don't know who this is. Now, my thing with this, remember that girl that she saw in that newspaper? We still don't know who that woman is. We don't know who she is, what she has to do with Luke, but is that woman Reva Connors? Is Reva Connors that woman? Because she obviously seemed really upset about it. She seemed upset, and I'm not really sure this woman could be. Well, it's obviously not Reva Connors. I don't know why I just said that, because obviously Reva Connors just died, but who is that woman in the picture that Luke has? I find it very interesting. So then we see a flashback, and we actually see a flashback in this episode. It's Kilgrave. He calls for Jessica to come back to him. A buzz about to him, and it flips, and that was pretty crazy that we saw that. And I like that they only show that little thing, because it just shows their interaction and shows the relationship they used to have, which is clearly going to be one of the most interesting things about the show. It's just their overall relationship. So now daytime, Jessica stands on a city street, approaches the mechanic, and asks for directions about where a person who gets hit by a bus on that street would go, because this is her way of finding Kilgrave, and I thought that was smart she did this. And then she does something very interesting. She decides to go undercover as a nurse, basically. She creeps into a hospital which is crowded with police. She observes a nurse using an access card, a computer, and then sneaks into a locker room. She finds the locker with pink-hearted covered scrubs and puts them on with an ID card to blend in. And she asks for help finding ER records and convinces the nurse to help her. She finds the records for the night of the incident and prints them. And she gets home and finds an intruder in her house. She cripples him and asks who sent him. I mean, the fact she just crippled him like that was insane. I mean, seriously, she just crippled him without anything. And, all he was trying to do was fix the door, and she didn't realize that. She offers to help him, but he wants an ambulance. And I can understand why she attacked him, because obviously anyone she probably has this impression that anyone she comes across is working for Kilgrave. I'm pretty sure that's what she thinks, that obviously someone's after her, and that since there's hope, there could very well be other people like her, and I really think that's what Jessica's thinking here. So we found out that she offers help, but he wants an ambulance, and Trish was the one that actually sent him, and you can tell how bad Jessica feels about this. So Jessica asks about her over the phone, not to call, visit, or send strange men with power tools, and Jessica tells Trish to back off, claiming she's turning into her mother, and that was interesting. We don't know what's going on with her mother, but obviously either Jessica or Trish's mother, there was something going on with her. So the man from the floor above compliments Jessica's ability to calm his twin sister down last night, and the ambulance pulls off, and I'm like, who is his twin sister? Clearly, oh shit, this is probably someone related to Hope or something like that. We don't know who this is, but this man clearly is someone important, and we don't know who he is right now. So Jessica rides the subway, the lights flicker, people laugh and smile around her, purple flashes, and a voice yelling, "Come back here," calls her to punch the window and crack it. She recites Birch Street, Higgins Drive, Cobalt Lane. She's again saying that. Again, we don't know what this means. I don't know what this means, and I like that. I like that uncertainty. I like that mystery. And I like the way they're not really telling us anything that's going on. It just keeps me invested in watching, and I love that. I like it when shows don't tell you what's going on. So Jessica approaches the house, but a neighbor cuts her off. She tells the neighbor she's looking for Jack Denton, and the neighbor insists her Jack has nothing to say to her, and Jessica wants to help, and the woman is now open to helping Jessica, and Jack is the man that Jessica just crippled. Her son is now hooked up to machines. He had donated his kidneys, and his body started to shut down. He was found in alley 3 weeks after the accident, and we don't know who this man is. We don't know who Jack Denton is, but the mother invites Jessica to pray and informs Jessica an anonymous angel pays for her equipment, and Jessica takes a photo of the information of the machines, and Jack reaches for a pen, writes "kill me" on a pad for Jessica to see. He literally just writes "kill me." So she obviously can't do that. She's not going to kill him. She takes the notes and leaves, and she's not going to let him suffer. She's not going to do that to him. She obviously wants to make him suffer. We don't know who he is, but there's something going on with Jack Denton, and I don't know who he is, and I really want to know. So Jessica hangs up a phone call, and the annoying neighbor from the floor above accused Jessica of being interested in her brother, and she gets home, someone knocks on her door, startling her, and it's the married woman sleeping with Luke. It's Gina, and she asks Jessica why she took pictures if her husband didn't hire her, and this is very interesting. We realized that no, she was not hired. Jessica was not hired by her husband. It was similar to Jessica did this on her own. Then basically Gina tells Jessica her husband's rugby team is headed to Luke's bar to beat him up, and basically, her husband thought that this was all, obviously now Jessica's made things even worse. She never meant to ruin Luke's life. I don't think that's what she was trying to do, but she clearly wanted to spy on him and had to lie to him because she can't just say, oh, I was following you. I mean, no one's going to initially say, oh, I was stalking you. That sounds creepy, and obviously she doesn't want to sound creepy. So the way to do that is to make up a complete lie, and that's what she did. She's lied to him, and now he's in danger of possibly being killed. So Luke is surrounded at the bar. Jessica rushes in. Luke manhandles the man, and so does Jessica, to Luke's astonishment. And it was pretty crazy the way she could do that. But again, her powers are so incredible, and Luke didn't know about her powers. And it's such a great scene. It really is if you guys think about it, it's the first team up we've had before Luke even has his own show, which is awesome. That's something I love about Jessica Jones, is the fact that Luke's in it gives us time to see Jessica and Luke interact before Luke Cage happens, so it's not like, oh, we already have a crossover. This is not a crossover yet because Luke Cage hasn't happened. So Luke starts manhandling the man, so does Jessica, to Luke's astonishment. Luke starts tossing around men like it's a joke, even taking broken glass to his head like a champ, and Jessica throws a man over a bar. Man tries to stab Luke, but the glass breaks. The men leave, and Luke tells Jessica to leave too, and holy shit was that graphic. I mean, that was a really graphic scene, and I mean, I think Daredevil wasn't even that bad, honestly. Daredevil was pretty graphic, but that was even crazier than that, and I love that, definitely. Really crazy stuff, and really awesome scene, I have to say. Really great stuff, and it's only episode 2, but I love that these two have already teamed up. So Jessica wakes to a phone call, asks for the person who leaves Jack's dialysis machine so he can authorize a service, and she heads to the doctor's classroom, and he's teaching about alleles and chromosomes, and is caught off guard when he spots Jessica. Now, who is this doctor? He runs out of the room and back through the other side down a hallway and downstairs, and she searches for him in the basement and follows a note, and she calls out for Dr. Karada, and she tries to reason him, asks why he's hiding, as she searches, Karada. I don't know who this man is, and I don't know if Jessica knows either, but clearly this man was scared of her. But he's actually hiding because he's asking if Kilgrave is there, and Jessica insists that Kilgrave must be dead if his death certificate was true, and the professor reveals himself. He tells Jessica that Kilgrave made him do the surgery, taking both of Jack's kidneys, and Kilgrave didn't want to be unconscious during the surgery, so now we know pretty much what's going on. That basically Kilgrave, and this gives us a lot, what I like about this is that this doesn't let us, we don't need to see flashbacks to know what's going on. This isn't going to be a show that's flashback heavy. It might show a few, but it's all going to be, like, from Jessica's perspective, which I really like. So we realized that Jack was actually the man that Kilgrave clearly donated his kidneys from, and that's how Kilgrave is alive, and Kilgrave didn't want to be unconscious during the surgery, so they had Jack's kidneys, and that's why Jessica confronted him. So I thought that was a really crazy scene, and the way she was getting him to just talk and make him feel really guilty about himself was just really interesting, and I really loved it. Definitely a very powerful scene. So Jessica calls, she then calls Jerry and insists that Karada tell her what happened. He's afraid he'll lose his mind, but Jessica insists he starts at the beginning and explain what happened. And Jerry then enters the interrogation room and tells Hope that she's her attorney now. And she's very confident about it. And she doesn't seem to be very responsive. She doesn't even seem to really care. Until she tells Hope that Jessica Jones sent her. And Hope asks if there are others besides Jessica. And basically Jerry asked to be walked through the whole thing because Jerry doesn't really know about Jessica's powers. And Hope tells Jerry this could be a real problem for definitely Jerry. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen here, but this is definitely interesting. And I really feel like Hope is being set up by Kilgrave to do these things, and at the end of the day, even though she cares about Jessica, she is going to leave her loyalty to Kilgrave because obviously Kilgrave would probably kill her if she didn't. So this is very interesting, and I really like that. So Jessica cleans up her newspapers on her desk. She leaves one note, but with the chemicals written on it. And carefully, Jessica picks up the window for her door and analyzes it. She sits down and finally calls Trish to tell her the font logo was different. It doesn't say Alias Investigation anymore. And Trish insists that her font is better than says she doesn't need or want Jessica's protection. And that was, she doesn't want to be protected. She doesn't want it. She wants to fight on her own. And that really shows how strong a character she is. Jessica invites her for a drink, but Tristan drips blood from her nose and diverts the invitation. And we realize then that she is actually in this other room. She's fighting intensely with her trainer, and it seems like she's doing some fight training. She actually wants to fight, and like I said, I really feel Trish is eventually going to have to get involved, even though Jessica doesn't want her involved. At this point, it seems like the way we're setting up, Trish is getting involved, no matter whatever Jessica says. She doesn't care what the fuck Jessica says. She's getting involved, and Jessica's not going to stop her, and I think that's really interesting, and I really like that. So then we get our actual first introduction to Kilgrave, and this was awesome. I mean, we've been waiting to see Kilgrave, and we finally see him in this episode. I know it's only episode 2, but it really worked very well. Very much felt like a Wilson Fisk introduction, and just from this scene, I can already tell that Kilgrave is going to be creepier than Wilson Fisk, because Wilson Fisk was menacing. He was not creepy. Kilgrave is fucking creepy as hell. I mean, David Tennant, I mean, just his voice alone is awesome. The fact that David Tennant is playing Kilgrave is just beyond amazing. The fact they could get him to do this is great, and he knocks on the man's door and says that he'd like to invite him in, to which the man responds absolutely. He tells them he'll be their guest indefinitely, and they're instantly persuaded. But then he tells the kids that children should be hidden, and he tells them to get in the closet, and he promptly does. What he wants to do with these kids, I don't know, but basically he tells the little boy to go in the closet. He does, followed by his sister. So they're now locked in this closet, and he wipes the table and asks what's for dinner. He sharpens his knife, and we don't know what he's gonna do, but he definitely has some sort of agenda, and we don't know what it is right now, but I love that we don't know what it is. It's very intriguing, and I really like that. What he plans on doing, I don't know. I do kind of feel like he's going to use these 2 kids, though, for mind control. I kind of feel like what he's trying to do is build up a big army to eventually take down Jessica, and he's going to use these kids as bait to do that with. He's clearly going to get these kids to probably, I think he's probably going to get them to try to, to try to turn against Jessica and put him under the mind control he's doing with Hope. I really feel he's going to do that with these kids as well, which I'm definitely looking forward to. I think that definitely is going to be very interesting, and I'm very interested in seeing if he's going to do that, because I'm pretty sure that that's what he's going to do. I mean, you would think that since he's done this to Hope, there are others out there like her, and I think these kids are going to be 2 of those people that he does that to. But like I said in my first episode review, the first episode, that he is going to do some things that could be seen as okay. He might do some things that could be seen as okay. We might actually sympathize with him. We don't really know what he's going through, but I definitely feel like he has some sort of plan, or there's something he's just doing that we don't know about yet, and I'm interested in really seeing what that is, because we don't know what it is yet, and I want to know. So Jessica brushes her teeth, narrates that her greatest weakness is that she occasionally gives a damn, and Kilgrave knows that. And I do agree with that. I mean, clearly she sometimes cares about her protection, but sometimes doesn't. And what I like about Jessica that we're realizing in this episode, that we're dealing with an anti-hero here. Matt Murdock was sort of an anti-hero, but Jessica really is an anti-hero. I mean, she does some really questionable things for a good reason, but they're still very questionable, and you kind of wonder, did she really need to do this? I mean, that whole situation she did with Luke Cage, why did she do this? I mean, obviously, that's not a very likable characteristic, but there had to be a reason why she did this. So now she knows what Kilgrave's reason is, and she says that she crushes the cockroach crawling from her sink, and that was awesome when she did that. And then we get to the ending of this episode, which was awesome. I love the ending of this episode. Not only is it setting up for the rest of the show very well, but it really just was a really great ending. Luke is in her living room, to Jessica's surprise. He tells her that he saw what she did, and she tells him that she's only wanted to help. He turns on this power, and he says, that she saw what he did, and she saw what he is, but she doesn't really know what he's talking about. He turns on a power source. I remember, guys, I don't know much about Luke Cage. I didn't know much about Luke Cage. I didn't know about Jessica Jones, and I like that, because this made it even more shocking. He turns on a power saw, presses it against himself, but the saw breaks, and he tells Jessica that she can't fix him, he's unbreakable, and Luke is an Inhuman, and that's how the episode ends. So, I love that. I love the fact that Luke is an Inhuman. I love the fact they've introduced this in here, because that really fits into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, and I know that they said the show really wasn't going to go with that, but obviously, it all needs to link together at some point, and I think that's a very good way of them to do that, and I love that. And something I like about this is that Mike Colter said that he only did this show because of the character development. He knew that he couldn't get it in the movies. That's why he did this show. And I really do admire him for that because that's awesome character development. They did a very good job with that scene. I loved everything about that. That was awesome. Let's talk about Luke and Jessica. Why is Jessica stalking him? What is going on there? They clearly are going to team up. I know what's going to happen. I mean, we saw how great they were in this episode, how much they helped each other out. So I feel like despite all this weird stuff that she's doing, there has to be a reason why. We don't know why, but she's clearly has a reason why she's talking. We just don't know what it is yet. So we'll have to see what that is. What is Kilgrave's plan? I mean, like I said, I feel like he's going to use those two kids, and he's going to use them to turn against Jessica, and he's going to put them under the same mind control that Hope's under, but what does he really want to do? We don't know yet, and I like that. I like that mysterious side, and David Tennant is really creepy. Like I said, he definitely gives out this really creepy vibe, and I really like that. It's kind of this horror vibe that we haven't seen. I mean, remember Ultron in Avengers Age of Ultron? He really wasn't that menacing. That's kind of how I feel Kilgrave is. I mean, the menacing side we didn't see of Ultron is what Kilgrave is in the show. He's really getting up the menacing side. And I think it's probably going to be the best villain Marvel's ever done, honestly. If they go the route they're going with him, I think he's going to be a really powerful villain. Trish. Obviously, Trish wants to fight. She wants to fight. She doesn't want to take orders from Jessica. She doesn't want Jessica to do the fighting for her. She wants to do it on her own, and I don't really know how this is going to work with Trish. I hope for her, for her sake, it goes well for her. But obviously, Jessica wants to do most of this, and she's professional. But Trish getting fighting, I mean, I feel like she's actually in a good spot. I feel like this could work out well for her. Hope and, Jerry. What's going to happen here? I mean, is Hope going to tell Jerry everything that's going on with Jessica? Is she going to try to expose Jerry's cover, Jessica's cover? We don't know if Hope is sincere working with Jessica, or if she really is just working with Kilgrave. We don't really know what's going on with her, but I like that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Jessica and Hope, I like that Jessica's trying to help her out, but now this whole thing going on with Hope, I mean, is Hope going to try to ruin everything with Jessica? I'm not really sure really what she's going to do, and I really like that. I don't want to know what she's trying to do here. Also, how did he get killed? I mean, now we know more of what's going on with Kilgrave, that he was killed by, there was clearly this man that he had his organs donated to and things like that. But what caused it? We still don't know. Was it that bus crash that caused it? I mean, was that what caused it, the bus crash? I mean, if that's true, that's really interesting, but I feel like there's a lot more to it than that. Because why would she be so upset that he's returned? I mean, he told her to save him. And she didn't. So why was she so scared that he's back? Because clearly there's a reason why, and we don't know why, but we'll have to see what that is. But overall, guys, I absolutely love this episode. I'm loving this show so far. It's an amazing show. Definitely this episode, really, I'm on board with this. I can't wait for the next episode. I know this is going to be just as great as Daredevil, maybe even better, because Daredevil didn't have Kilgrave. It's that simple. Daredevil didn't have the mind control. They didn't have Kilgrave. They didn't have superpowers in general, and I really like that. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. I really am loving this show, and I will see you guys in my next review, which will be for the originals. I know I'm behind on the originals, but it will be my next review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.